there was ever a quintessential property in the 90s comic book origin, it's the X-Men animated series. The Fox staple in the early part of the decade was a great excuse to get up on a Saturday morning to watch cartoons. It also was a great learning tool for those who didn't know much about the X-Men and wanted an introductory, of course, to the famous mutants. What we love about the series is the fact that it takes itself seriously. It told the stories that just as a comic book version told them 10 years before. It's pretty close to the origin stories with only minor changes. Our only gripe with some of the episodes in the first volume is the brevity of the story arcs. The sagas such as the Days of a Future Past and the Cure are told in one of the two episodes. Sometimes it isn't normal to be done in comic books. However, some are revisiting in the later seasons of the show, so that can be forgiven. The production of the animated series of its time were top-notch, the writing was superb, and the coloring and the drawings were extraordinary for a cartoon production. Few series, with the exception of the fellow Fox production Spider-Man the Animated Series, could not match the animated series brought to the table in the few visual and storytelling. The first volume sets the pace with Knights and Sentinels. It's obvious that care is taken with characters and their backgrounds. Most characters are true to their story, and those who have been re-established to the animated series are well done and are not out of place. The voice acting is another standout established with the first volume. The characters all sound like how they should, and it's the first set of episodes that establish the standards of the future X-Men voice acting projects for the 17 years. The best example, all the X-Men characters used in Capcom's Versus series through Marvel vs. Capcom 2 were voiced by the animated series actors. It was the animated series that got me into the world of the X-Men and other Marvel comics, which are far superior, but that's not to say the cartoon wasn't good for what it was. What we have here are the four core X-Men: Cyclops, Wolverine, Jean Grey, Storm, along with the popular characters from the comics, such as Rogue, Beast, Gambit, and Jubilee for the teens, and Professor Xavier as the basis for the series. Many mutants and other X-related characters make appearances throughout the series, some more often than others. The X-Men are portrayed well in their comic book counterparts, with the exception of Jean Grey. Although it was this series that got me into the X-Men and made Jean Grey a very likable character, in this series she was somewhat wasted and not used to her full potential. She was shown less powerful than others, when in the comics she is one of the most powerful mutants to experience, even without the Phoenix Force. However, Jean did get a few good stories, most notably the ongoing Sinister stories, her and Wolverine's love subplot, and the Phoenix and Dark Phoenix sagas. But I digress, the villains were cool, and in keeping in the comic book counterparts, it would have been nice to see ones like Apocalypse and the Brotherhood more often. In terms of supporting characters such as Bishop, Cable, Moria McTaggart, Banshee, Archangel, Forg, and Colossus showed up a few times, but we could have seen more of Iceman, Darkstar, Paralysis, Alpha Flight, Sunfire, and Nightcrawler. A lot of the series were taken out directly from the comics and adapted for this series. Like the Dark Phoenix saga, Fairlax Covenant, and Days of Future Past, others were taken out of the ongoing comic book stories or changed for the multiple episodes for the series, like the Savage Land and the Sentinels. There are some ongoing narratives, but it's also possible to watch the episodes out of order. They were generally self-contained, with the exception of multiple part episodes. It was really cool to actually hear the X-Men speak, and the costumes looked cool on TV too. It's definitely a great watch and worth your time. X-Men the Animated Series gets a 9.5 out of 10. This is Red Wolf signing out, and I'll see you next time. Peace.